Welcome to the Prime Health Podcast with your host, Dr. Derek Barron. Dr. Barron interviews doctors, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. The Prime Health Podcast explores breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are shaping the future of health and wellness. So sit back, listen in, and prepare to transform how you think about your path towards Prime Health with Dr. Barron and his special guest.
Welcome back to the Prime Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Derek Barron, and I'm here to bring you cutting-edge insights and practical strategies from leading healthcare experts for your journey to Prime Health in life and in business. Now, I want you to think about this. Have you ever had a gut feeling you couldn't explain, only to discover later it was exactly right? Well, today's guest, Dr. Frances Meredith of Stribling Springs Wellness and MyConcussionDR, believes those moments aren't coincidences. They're messages waiting for us to listen. So she's got some very interesting information she's going to share with us. I'm excited. I know you are too. But before we jump into the episode, just a quick message from our sponsor, Growth Solutions, where we believe every healthcare professional deserves an exceptional growth partner to match their ambition and reach their potential. Growth Solutions is not an agency or vendor. We are your growth partner, and we take a diagnostic approach to your business where we analyze time, money, leads, or opportunities and where they might be leaking. So we help eliminate stressors in the business, such as new patient or client acquisition, marketing and growth strategies, reducing operational chaos, and providing systems, SOPs, frameworks, all that helps the business run smoother. And yes, even understanding AI and which bots you should implement, because they're coming for us whether we like it or not. So if you've ever thought this about yourself or in your business, I'm too busy to grow, too slow to scale, or too overwhelmed to fix it, we are your solution. If you'd like to learn more, just drop the word in discovery down below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, but you came here for a purpose, and that's to hear more from our amazing guests. So Dr. Meredith, welcome to the Prime Health Podcast, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Derek. I'm really glad to be here with you.
Absolutely.
I am a former traditional allopathic MD and still utilize all those skills, but I'm now a functional medicine practitioner, MD, and see a wide range of patients. And I also am involved in MyConcussionDR, where we're creating an educational platform, expanding it to be provider partners, resources, recovery tools, resources, and we have a head impact response product to go with that called On Hand. So those are the two hats that I wear.
Well, I'm glad that you wear multiple hats. We've had our conversations before. You're very active in the healthcare community, so I appreciate that. And it's going to be a great podcast as we go through. But I always like to ask this at the start. Was there a moment in your life, was there something that happened that said, you know what, I think I want to choose a career in medicine and healthcare?
It was a really slow process. It wasn't I can't pinpoint, unlike the shifts in trajectory in my healthcare career where I had two big ones. My entry into medicine was almost passive in a weird way because my mother, in words and not in words, was very clear to impart, you will be independent, you will be a doctor, a lawyer, or a businesswoman, and you will never depend on a man for financial security. So that was, I don't ever remember her speaking those words, but she sure put it in my brain. So law school didn't appeal, business school didn't appeal, medical school appealed. So that's where I went.
Really interesting. Well, I'm sure your mom is proud of you now, as how you've advanced and how you continue to advance into the business side of it as you've kind of stretched and made different moves. Because being a physician, a primary care physician, and as you were an infectious disease specialist, you go to a location and you do your stuff. Now, when you start your own functional medicine, you have to think differently because you've got to find the people to come in. You've got to show that you have, the ability to help them. So I'm sure she's proud of those adventures, even still today. So from that point of where you were in primary care and, if you can explain how long you were in that and you were the infectious disease specialist, why did you then decide to transition away from that into functional medicine?
That most people that go into functional medicine have a story to tell, right? There's a reason why they jumped off the train away from traditional medicine. So for me, I watched as medicine became brilliant in some respects, right? In terms of, say, trauma care, cancer care, just absolute gastrointestinal interventional cardiology. So absolute brilliance. On the other side, I was involved in dysfunctional medicine, where the time that I could spend with my patients went from 24 minutes to 20 minutes to 16 to 13 minutes. And as that transition was happening, it really was all about the money, not the patient interaction, not about the providers, not about the patients. It seemed to me to be about the money. And as that was happening, I was losing my health. So my blood pressure one day in the office went up to 190 over 85.
Why?
My blood pressure now is 115 over 70. So no meds. All right. So my blood pressure went up. My joints swelled on and off, were uncomfortable. Nobody could tell me why. I became irritable and not a pleasant mom and had to put myself into timeout. I'm sorry, kids, this is not you. You're all good. It's mom needs a timeout. So things were not going well with my physical and mental health. And I am so grateful to have had a friend at that time who was in the functional medicine space and showed me the door.
It is, Dr. Meredith, it's so sad. I've had numerous guests on that nobody's done the countdown of 24 to 20 to 16 to 13. So I appreciate that, but it's getting less and less and less. And I just don't understand two things, how people can continue to stay into it. I do understand because there are bills that you have to pay and they don't see the opportunities that were introduced to you. But how is it that the hospitals can continue to increase it's not always just a hospital, but how they can continue to increase their fee, and yet you see them less and less. And it becomes so stressful on the human.
Yes, it is. It actually, I don't feel like the human's important. I know that sounds harsh to say, but I think big medicine, big pharma, big insurance, they lose track of the individual human. And sadly, I watched before I made the functional medicine jump, I watched as patients would move from one primary care doctor to another if their copay went up by $10. So people in my generation, I'm 61, so people in my generation were trained, I hate to say it, but to devalue their doctors. Hey, I only owe you $25. What, you're going to charge me $35 for a copay? I'm going to go find someone else, even if I've had a 10-year relationship with someone. Yeah. So, it's a different value structure that we're taught to devalue their medical care, but they're happy to pay an electrician or a plumber or a lawyer, but the system trained us to devalue.
Yeah. And it did train us to devalue, but how to gain, and it's interesting when you see people that come into your functional medicine practice, they value themselves. That's where they're reaching out to you specifically, or you have a conversation somewhere when you're watching your son play soccer, that you have that conversation. Like it's such a good shift in medicine that you're taking advantage of from the functional side.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. When I meet people for the first time, I'm always my very first conversation with them invites them in, really, you're an equal expert on this panel. First of all, don't call me Dr. Meredith. Like I take that off the table immediately. Like we're on a first name basis. I think that gets in the way for me, not for everyone, but, and you say you're a patient of mine, Derek. Derek, you are an equal expert at this table. So what that means is that you, me, our health coach, who I work with, who's way more than a health coach, but we're a team, and this gives you responsibility on this team. You must bring me your intuition. So it's been, people have rolled their eyes at you probably before when you brought your intuition to the table. Yeah. As we move through clearing out I'll use a different metaphor, peeling the onion. So as we peel the onion and get hormones right and get inflammation gone and rebalance nutrition, then you read your signals. Then your intuition can speak volumes. And that's when we need it. So I just tell people, you're an expert. I need you to bring your intuition to the table as it comes. Don't ever think I'll roll my eyes. And your priorities are mine. So I need to keep your priorities as mine.
Yeah. And there is no way you can do that in 14 minutes in a session. Just impossible. No. So
Right.
they become human. It's no longer sick hospital care. It's health care the way it was meant to be. And is money involved in? Of course it is, but you like to have those people that are like, I want to get better. I've had problems in my life. I've heard that you do functional medicine. I know that there's a way that, you can help me. So on the functional medicine side of your practice, Dr. Meredith, what types of conditions do you see that come into your practice?
Very broad spectrum. I would say the majority are people who come to me with multiple symptoms, not just one. They've been to multiple doctors, offered multiple meds with minimal effectiveness. And throughout this whole course, they have either in words or not have been made to feel, oh, honey, it's all in your head. And they're offered Prozac and Xanax and, the long list of things. And I would say so people come to me saying, no one's been able to figure me out. I have a mystery illness. So my job with those people is again, welcome them as equal expert at the table, but tell them, I'm not the fixer. You're the fixer. I have cool tools that can translate what your body's trying to tell you. Right. And I've been in functional medicine now since 2017 with 22 years of primary care doc on top of that, an ID. So I can recognize patterns, and I don't have to. So anyway, to get back to your question, that's the majority of my patients are patients with multi-system symptoms that no one's been able to figure them out. Then there's a growing minority who find me because they want to optimize. And usually it's people in, 50 and above. They want to optimize their second 50 and live the best they can for their second 50 and steer clear of whatever they might have in their family history. I don't want Alzheimer's like mom, heart attacks and strokes like dad. Can you keep me from cancer? Can you keep me from getting these? So a growing minority of my patient population is that, the optimizers.
Yeah. I think that's so great that times have shifted in medicine that people are looking for a better lifestyle and a better life range at the end. And is there the possibility that I don't have to struggle like friends or family have in the past? And yes. I think that's a great point. And I was reading on your website, there's a statement that you make that says your story determines our path. So what does that mean to you? And if a patient is listening or watching, how should they take that again? It was your story determines our path.
Gets at our innate God-given ability of self-healing, which we have frankly lost touch with as a culture. So our story is just that, is a story, right? I am not going to heal 100% unless I can snip the cord to whatever story I've been telling about myself for decades and decades, from maybe childhood trauma or, being bullied as a kid in middle school or physical trauma or sexual trauma, whatever it is. I will not heal until I can change my story, because our words, our thoughts tell our DNA what to do every second of the day. And indigenous cultures knew that. We've lost touch with that. So we as a culture are just starting to get back into in touch with our innate divine given ability to self-heal. And that's what I mean by our story is our path. Change your story, change your path.
Yeah. So that is so on the personal development component, which is fantastic. I've seen it, read it, been involved with it. I love how you're bringing it into healthcare because it's very true. So that makes me want to ask a question. You probably don't have patients that are in tune to that thinking when they first come in, right?
There are some. There are a few. It's a minority.
It's growing. It's a minority, but it's growing, and that's good. So how do you help them understand that, and how do you help them build a trust in you that you can help pull that out of them? Because as you said, we have our story, and sometimes we like to stick with our story because it keeps us safe. When the truth is, when you can cut that and let it go, the opportunities are boundless. So how do you get them to open up?
I think just inviting them to the table, first of all, what I mentioned before, is step one. And there's a lot of people who start to cry at that point when I say that. That's not rare. They've never heard that. They've never been welcomed and valued as having valuable intuition. So just stating that. And then once they start to tell their story, just be quiet. Just allow space, hold space, safe space, allow, and that is next step to building trust. And I think the third one, and it's a long line of them, but the third would be being a mirror for them. One, to tell them, I hear you. So this is what I'm sensing from your story. Can I tell it back to you and tell me if I have it wrong? Do I have it right or do I have it wrong? Like this is, and tell their story back to them. And these are the patterns I see. Does this feel right to you? And that just invites collaboration and invites trust.
Yeah. Well, I can tell your patients are truly blessed to have you as a provider, to be able to think that way and allow them a place to sit and explain, and then have it told back to them and say, she is listening to me, because it's not happening in 14 minutes either. So when a patient comes in, no matter what their diagnosis is, I know you have some, tools that you use. So kind of what do people go through in your practice?
In terms of evaluation tools?
Yeah, like evaluation, and genetics is probably a big part, and some nutrition is what you would do as well.
Sure. I don't do everything all at once. So part of probably the most important part of the evaluation is that time spent talking with them. And also the time that my health coach spends talking with them, because she is like a bird dog for trauma. I may sense it and might not get at it, but then I send her in, she will find it. And then, because that has to be addressed, and not at the first visit, but we just know it's there, right? Okay, we know this is there. This is on the plate. In terms of evaluation, I'm always looking for what things are creating inflammation. So that may be foods. I always do food sensitivity testing if it's not been done prior. Everyone gets food sensitivity testing. I'm always looking at gut health, the intestinal health, in terms of immune activity in there. 80% of our immune system is actually in our gut. Our bacterial balance, our yeast and fungal balance. I'm looking at gut health. And then I am looking at nutrients and looking for not just what LabCorp says is normal. Normal is 100 people pulled off the street. That's the norm. And most of them are really not very healthy. Yeah. So I do nutrient testing and biomarker testing, things like homocysteine and insulin and C-reactive protein, and in the functional medicine world, pretty basic stuff. And that's where I start, because I often don't have to move to genetics or mold testing or metals testing. I often don't have to go there when I fix everything else. And let me put hormones on that list too, of things I always check right up front. Hormones of all sorts. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. So there's a complete package of care when they go to Stribling Springs Wellness. So I appreciate you for that. I do want to make a little bit of a shift into talking about maybe the pivot that took place. You still offer the services that we're explaining, but there's something that kind of came passionate to you, and that's in the injury, the head injury, the concussion space, and that's why you created MyConcussionDR. I'd like you to give us kind of a little background behind that.
That was a huge pivot point in my life. So that was, if one of your children has ever had a concussion, anyone listening here, if a family member has hit their head, you will never forget that date. Yeah. That date for me was June 23rd, 2023. So my son, Bryce Meredith, who currently plays with Spokane Velocity in Washington State, not far from you, Derek. Right. He is 6'5", and his head is a magnet for the ball. And that day it was a magnet for another kid's head. So he went up, he collided with another kid midair, and he hit the ground unconscious. I was not there. He was in New Jersey. So I hear about this the next day, and I hear that he was put back on the field, that the trainer on the field, you and I both know that that's not standard of care.
In 2023, that's amazing.
It's still happening. So they did the sideline evaluation and watched my finger, right? And know where you are. And do you feel like you can go back on the field? Like, this kid was unconscious. So by definition, it's a concussion.
Absolutely.
And he was offered to go back on the field, and the state of his adrenaline that day, he said, yeah. So he went back on the field, and within minutes, he knew something was very wrong. So he took a knee and went off the field, and that changed his life and mine. And so I went to what was at that time gold standard care here in the Research Triangle Park area in North Carolina. And we got some very good input, but it was not cutting edge input. And I happen to work, one of my colleagues is Dr. Robert Barrick, and he's a chiropractor and neurofeedback specialist with many years in the head injury space. And he said, there are providers that fly at a different level. Those are the people that the NHL, the NFL, the MMA fighters go to. We don't know about them. Regular people don't know about them, but he did. So he gave me this long list of people across the nation that had this very specific training. And we found Dr. Andy Barlow in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Oh, sure.
That was close to where my son was practicing. So Andy is a chiropractor. He is very experienced, well-trained in head injury, and he speaks functional medicine. So he spoke my language. Yeah. So I got to learn from his evaluation and treatment protocol of my son, Bryce. So that led to a conversation with my colleague, Dr. Barrick, of, well, something must exist out there to take immediately upon head injury. So of course we searched it. Nope, doesn't exist. So then we started looking around to lots of experts, and there are plenty of experts that will list all of the supplements you should be taking if you hit your head. Well, my kid's not going to open 12 bottles of things, take pills and liquids and blah, blah, blah 3 times a day. So Dr. Barrick and I co-founded MyConcussionDR and then started to brainstorm and research. So many hundreds of hours of research and several iterations, we now have a blend called On Hand, meant to be kept on hand. That is an acute head injury response, which is a powdered blend of researched nutrients. So that's the other piece of our practice.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that your son went through that, but as it typically happens, you have to experience something to make a change in your life and what we do. And pivotally, and fortunately, it was your son. So I kind of asked this question earlier of you, but if someone's listening or watching and they have a child that plays soccer and you have your On Hand head impact response blend, should they be taking that before the event? And so they play, 3 games in a weekend. Should they take it, every day in the weekend? And then once they are concussed, if that unfortunately happens, should they take it again? If you don't mind kind of going through that maybe prescription of how you would use it.
Sure. I think it is going to be beneficial. It is beneficial to take it ahead of time to essentially prep the terrain, to use some functional medicine terminology, so your brain is ready. The military knows this. They've been giving our men and women in uniform high dose omega-3 and vitamin D as preparatory, knowing that they're going to have head impact. So for, say you have a child in, lacrosse, Derek, right? Say you have a child in lacrosse or soccer or football. Mm-hmm. Depending on how high the likelihood is during practice or game, I would say game is certainly pre-game would be good timing, and certain sports even pre-practice, because we know that multiple subconcussive blows have impact and create brain damage. There's lots of articles on that are exploding in the literature now. So my son would be one who I am hoping he's taking On Hand before he goes out, even for practice. because his head will find that ball multiple times in practice.
Yeah.
And he's already been concussed several times. So to prep the terrain, and then should the unfortunate occur, and sadly it's not if but when, the majority of us in our lifetime will hit our head. So if that happens, you have this head injury response blend at the ready. So you have it on hand in your bag, in your pantry. It's like the small fire extinguisher in your pantry to quickly put out the fire in the kitchen before it spreads to the whole house. Because we know that head injury is not just a brain injury, but a total body injury. And then when it's severe, it becomes a family injury. So we've coined the terms TBI, total brain injury, is a TBI, total body injury, is a TFI, total family injury. Think caregivers, lost wages, etc. Caregiver stress.
Yeah. And going back to your son's injury, I can't believe in 2023 that they allowed him to go back in. That boggles my mind, especially as he's, semi-professional and how he's playing. And I can't believe that. But let's just say that trainer didn't do that. And of course would the trainer then provide your on-hand impact blend right then as well? Like after he was concussed, would it be advisable that that's when he takes it?
Yes. And that's we're getting more and more feedback from people that have taken it in a time of acute need. So it is weight-based, and it's taken 3 times a day for a 14-day minimum. So, and we're getting incredible feedback for people that have needed it, had it on, got it within 24, 48, even within 5 days, it still had impact. So, yes. So to have it on hand, ready for when you need it the most.
Okay. I love that. It's great that you have that opportunity there, because I know, as you said, my son did play lacrosse. Your son is still playing soccer. There are kids out there all the time. Your son could have had an experienced second impact syndrome had he gone back in and been that magnet, like you said,
Yes.
and who knows what would have happened at that point in time. So it's amazing that there's tests out there that people can do, but you really hit it on the head. And we've spoken before, but it didn't sink into me. Just maybe it's because I've been hit too many times, but it didn't sink into me that everybody knows we should do something before and or after, but nobody put it together. They're here, take this, take that, take all 3. You've blended it. So I think that that's something that's so pivotal for people to have. So I'm glad we're able to share this information. We'll share kind of the links of where people can learn more about that. But do you feel as though there's any pushback from providers with this, saying, here's something you can do pre and or post concussion? Is anybody pushing back on it, and why would?
Well, honestly, we're first going after is the wrong word, but we're first trying to bring this to the attention of, I hate to say this, but the open-minded ones.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
We MDs don't tend to be open-minded in general. Chiropractors do, PTs do, athletic trainers are. So people that are in the neuro rehab space. So we've been bringing it to the people that are the most open-minded to it, and there's been no resistance at all.
Oh,
people that are in the traditional medicine space, where I was for 22 years, we are well conditioned to say, show me the trial, show me the paper, show me the thousands of patients, prospective randomized, controlled trial. Yeah. Well, that takes millions of dollars of pharma research, and many, many years. And we are on a path to creating research, prospective data collection, but we don't have it now. We have patient testimonials that are growing and powerful. So in the world where I was, in ivory tower traditional medicine, if you don't have studies that are usually backed by pharma, we're taught not to believe them. We're taught that's fringe, that's alternative. So there are doctors that have, MD doctors, that have been quite open-minded. I will say that, which is lovely. But we get some pushback. And the pushback really being no follow-up. They have nothing they can't counter what we're saying, but they just don't take action. And part of that's also, it's the American way. Take a pill for that. It's reactionary rather than preventative. So patients and doctors alike still suffer from reactionary, reactive medicine rather than proactive.
Yeah. It's the easy button. It's the easy button in medicine where you press the easy button, you want it to be easy. But when you press that button, you also want a pill to slide out the side of it and say, okay, this is what I take to help me. And it just isn't that way anymore. And it's counterproductive, unfortunately. So from the concussion doctor side of the business, where's kind of the focus of where you're moving that right now?
Education and outreach. And really that's where our big push is. We're going to be headed, we're headed to the National Athletic Trainers meeting. We were there last year. So, and they were super excited and super open-minded to it. Where my personal strengths lie and interest lies is getting into those finding those communities that need this the most, from veterans to equestrians to American football players to soccer players to cheer teams. So finding those communities and connecting at a deep level with someone embedded in that community. Educate that cheer mom, educate that high level equestrian, educate that veteran, and they spread the word. So try to create the ripple effect by educating people and providing product so that those people embedded in those communities have the blend on hand, so that when someone in their sphere has a head impact, it's like knowing CPR, right? Someone drops on the street, CPR, Derek, right? But most people don't know, oh, there's something you can do if I witness someone hitting their head, or I hear about it. So that's really my push, is outreach with education to those high likelihood communities.
Yeah. Well, thank you for getting the word out there, and hopefully we can help that a little bit. So that brings me to the question, how can people learn more about you? So if somebody's interested in what you do from the Stribling Springs Wellness side of it, how would you like them to learn more? And then from the My Concussion Doctor side, how could they learn more about that?
So our websites have a lot of information. So www.striblingspringswellness.com is my private functional medicine practice. And My Concussion Doctor, MyConcussionDR.com has lots of information and a growing list of provider partners like neuro rehab and recovery tools, things like photobiomodulation helmets and neurofeedback, and a lot of the tools, hyperbaric oxygen. So lots of the tools we're putting on the website so people have a place to go to access information, and also to be able to access our on-hand head impact response product.
Okay, fantastic. Last two questions. From a health perspective, if you could give one piece of advice for anybody watching or listening that could help their health in a positive way, what would that advice be?
One?
You can go more if you'd like.
One's hard. I think at the top of the list, and I'll try and keep it a short list, but I can't do one, Derek.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
One is prioritize yourself, because with the full understanding that you are the only person you can change. We can't change anyone else. The second would be optimize nutrients, not just be normal, but be superhuman. And that's where a functional medicine guide can help do the in-depth testing to optimize your nutrition for your specific strengths and vulnerabilities that come from a genetic point of view. Move and move in a way that you enjoy, preferably outside with sunshine and trees. Connect. I'm almost done. Connect with humans. The more oxytocin, the better. So whether it's a hug that, like, full on connected hug that lasts for 10 seconds, don't let go, or sex with someone you love, the more oxytocin, the better. There's lots of information coming out about that in terms of quality of life, but longevity of life. And then I think the last one, which is frankly probably the most important, is to develop a way to connect with not just humans, but with infinite intelligence. So whether you call it God, nature, universe, great spirit, whatever you want to call it, I call it infinite intelligence, but it is all of those other things combined. We have this innate God-given ability to self-heal. And if we can clear clear the way to be in as full connection as we can be with infinite intelligence, then we can harness our self-healing. So we have every second of every day an opportunity to tune the dial. Imagine you're a kid and your parents, you're in the front seat of your parents' station wagon. You can tune that radio dial. So where do I want to be tuned? Do I want to be tuned to inflammatory news, talk radio, doom scrolling on my Instagram? No, I don't want to be tuned to those. So we have an opportunity every second of every day to choose, where am I going to tune in to be open for those downloads and hear them and be a first responder to them. Don't wait and then forget about what that divine download was. Oh, I'm supposed to call my mom? Okay. Now.
Yeah.
So, so that connection, I feel like we're all headed that way eventually. I think the more time that we can spend while we're in this realm, the more time that we can spend in communication with that, the better our lives here are going to be.
Well, thank you for sharing more than just one. They were all important. And I learned all of it. Yeah, it was very good. Exceptional. Last question. Since you've been an amazing guest here on the Prime Health Podcast, what is your definition of Prime?
Optimizing body physical health so we can be present and growing with our mind and spiritual health.
I love how you bring innate intelligence in chiropractic in the world. It's upside down, inside out. It's as simple as, yes, you cut your finger, it does heal. Even underneath, it's the Band-Aid, but it goes so much deeper than that. And you hit it so earlier, Dr. Meredith, in the fact that we do have stories that we tell ourselves, and those stories are keeping us back from optimal life and optimal health. And it's unfortunate, but when people find amazing providers like yourself that have gone through a history of, I was in modern medicine, pre-modern, because modern is changing, because modern medicine now is functional medicine. In my opinion, it's the best way to go. I don't know if hospitals are going to want to switch to that point, but hopefully they don't, because they can seek out people like yourself. But your perspective of going through primary care, infectious disease, having those years behind it, and then realizing there's more to it for myself and specifically for my patients, it's so better. So for the viewers and listeners, she said a bunch of things that can help you from the functional side and from the concussive side. If you know somebody that's suffering in either one of those, please do share the podcast to 1, 2, 3 people. It's important that this message gets out for so many reasons. From my perspective, if you thought this was valuable, please share the podcast and subscribe to it. We want to be able to get more amazing guests like Dr. Meredith on here. And I always tell people kind of here at the end that, remember, we're all looking for a journey on true wellness. We're all on this together. So whether you're taking charge of your own health or helping others guide them through their own, every step forward matters. So please do stay committed to your Prime Health journey. And again, Dr. Meredith, thank you so very much for being an exceptional guest here on the Prime Health Podcast.
Thank you so much, Derek. This was fun.